Have you ever been fired by someone who had no idea you already owned the company? I was sitting at my usual spot on the 42nd floor of Pulsewave Dynamics, sipping stale breakroom coffee, when the new CEO walked in like she was auditioning for a hostile takeover drama. Isabel Cross, 33, Harvard grad, known for gutting companies and restructuring them into her own vision. The board brought her in behind closed doors, no warning, no vote. She was supposed to save us. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Her first words to me? Cameron Blake, your time is over. No explanation. No respect. Just a cold, public firing in front of my entire executive team. I'd been COO of this company for 12 years. Helped build it from a 3-person garage project into a global tech firm. And this woman, who hadn't even figured out where the bathrooms were, thought she could erase me with a sentence. But I didn't argue. I didn't panic. I didn't even blink. Because 2 days earlier, I signed something she had no idea existed. Something that made me her boss. And less than 24 hours after she fired me, a secretary would come running into her office, breathless, carrying news that would flip her entire world upside down. What happened next? It wasn't just revenge. It was a lesson. What's worse than getting fired? Getting fired in your own house. By a stranger. It happened fast. Faster than I thought it would. Isabel Cross arrived at Pulsewave like she was landing on a battlefield. No hello. No handshake. Just the clack of red-bottom heels across marble floors and a clipboard filled with names to gut. She barely glanced at me. No eye contact. I wasn't a person to her. I was an obstacle. By 9:27 a.m., she had gathered the executive team in the conference room. No agenda. No pleasantries. Just a bomb. As of this moment, she said, scanning the room with ice in her voice, Cameron Blake is no longer with Pulsewave Dynamics. Silence. Not even a cough. I looked around. No one moved. Some blinked like they were trying to process it. Others just avoided my eyes altogether. One VP actually reached for his coffee like it might protect him. Me? I stood up, buttoned my blazer, smiled. Understood, I said. Good luck. Then I walked out. No arguing. No scene. That's what she expected. That's what everyone expects when you lose everything in front of an audience. But I didn't lose anything. Not really. Because she had just fired a man who, legally, was about to become her employer. And she had no clue. But the countdown had already started, and the fuse was burning fast. You ever watch someone swing a sword, not knowing it's already pointed at their own neck? 2 days before Isabel Cross ever set foot in that building, I was sitting in a private conference room with Edwin Shaw, the founder of Pulsewave Dynamics and, until recently, the quiet majority shareholder. Edwin looked tired that day. Not old, just done. I'm walking away, Cam, he said, sliding a folder toward me. But I'm not handing this company over to wolves. Inside that folder was a deal, silent, airtight, and brilliant. Private transfer of shares. 51%. Control. Real control. I don't trust the board's pick, Edwin added. They wanted a face. You built the bones. We signed it. Witnesses. Notarized. Submitted to the system. But here's the catch. It wouldn't process until 48 hours later. Legal delay. Routine. But by the time it hit, Isabel would already be wearing a crown. Completely unaware it was made of sand. That's why I didn't fight back when she fired me. I didn't need to. I'd already won the war in silence. And every move she made from that moment on, every policy change, every email, every public insult, it would all stack up against her. Because I wasn't gone. I was just waiting, and she was walking straight into her own trap. But she didn't walk. She sprinted. You ever watch someone sign their own pink slip and hit send with confidence? The day after she fired me, Isabel Cross did exactly that. At 7:42 a.m., every Pulsewave employee, from the janitorial staff to the investors' inboxes, received an all-company memo titled, Vision Forward, the Pulsewave Reformation, Corporate Buzzwords. thin threats wrapped in ambition. In it, she outlined layoffs, mass budget cuts, department merges. She even named me directly, bold move. Under prior leadership, this company stagnated. I intend to correct that. I could almost hear her heels clicking in rhythm as she typed it. But while she hit send, something else was quietly hitting the company's internal registry.
8:13 Uhr am Konfirmation logget.
Cameron Blake, majority shareholder. Executive chair. Asterisk asterisk. That's when the first crack appeared. Dana, Isabel's personal secretary, was the first to see it. She had access to daily ownership feeds, mostly for scheduling investor briefings. But that morning, when she pulled up the internal shareholder dashboard, her coffee slipped. She stared at the screen, blinked, refreshed, once, twice, still there. She didn't knock. She burst into Isabel's office. "You need to see this, right now." Isabel barely looked up from her tablet. "Can it wait?" Dana dropped a printed page in front of her. Isabel's eyes narrowed, then widened. "What is this?" She didn't get an answer, because I walked in. Ever walk back into a room where someone thought they buried you, just to hand them the shovel? I didn't knock, didn't wait to be announced. I walked straight into the executive boardroom, like I had every right to be there, because I did. The directors were already seated. Isabel was mid-sentence, trying to explain her new operational strategy, when she saw me. She froze. "Cameron," she said slowly, voice tightening. "This is a closed meeting." I smiled and dropped a leather folder on the table, right in front of her. "Not anymore." She hesitated, then opened it. Inside, the processed ownership transfer documents. Dated, signed, certified. As of 8:13 a.m. that morning, I wasn't just Cameron Blake, former COO. I was executive chair, her boss. The room was silent. Isabel scanned the signatures again, then looked up, panic buried under practiced arrogance. "You're joking. Read the second page," I said. "Section 4.2, authority to remove executive leadership in breach of fiduciary conduct." She flipped the page, and there it was. Because that email she sent earlier, the one where she publicly blamed me for stagnation, fired staff without board consultation, and positioned herself as sole visionary. It wasn't just arrogant. It was grounds for removal. Immediate. I leaned forward. "I'm here to discuss your exit package." She opened her mouth to respond, but the boardroom door opened again. And this time, it wasn't me she had to answer to. The man who walked in behind me? Edwin Shaw, the founder, the ghost she didn't expect. He hadn't been in that building in months, but he showed up that morning, unannounced, just to watch the dominoes fall. He looked at Isabel, didn't say a word at first, just stared. Then, "I built this company to last, Isabel, not to burn fast and pretty." She didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. 20 minutes later, she walked out of the same doors she'd strutted through barely a day before. No press release. No applause. Just the dull thud of her resignation sliding across the boardroom table. She passed me in the hallway, eyes hollow, heels slower now. I didn't stop her, didn't gloat. She had already written her own ending. I just let the ink dry. You know, people always talk about power like it's loud, like it shouts and storms into rooms. But real power, it waits, it watches, and when the time is right, it walks in quietly, takes its seat back and rewrites the rules. So yeah, she fired me on her first day, but she forgot the most important rule in business. Never burn bridges when you don't know who built them. Asterisk asterisk. If you've ever been underestimated, hit that like button. Because sometimes, revenge isn't loud. It just shows up with a signature and a smile.